Picture this. You're in the middle of a forest with nothing but a map and a compass, whilst hallucinating from the lack of sleep, in a race that can last anywhere between 5 hours to 5 days. Running, climbing, cycling, horseback racing. This is the insane world of adventure racing.
You need to get your right stuff off. Listen mate, listen, you're okay, yeah? You're safe just now?
Heard saying that never go over 36 hours without sleep.
3:21 in the morning, pretty fuzzy in the brain.
When you are racing for over a day, you start to kind of hallucinate these monsters. It's a really common thing. I was seeing some the other night when I was running through the woods just at 3 in the morning. You'd think there was like a witch or something standing next to you and you'd whip your head around, it was just a tree.
So this year I was flown out by GearJunkie to the Stubborn Mule event in Wisconsin in America. Obviously, I didn't take part in the race. And I got to witness this 30-hour race.
They put you in these moments of craziness and suffering and epic life experiences, encourages almost like a fearless attitude toward life.
Ryan, Kyle and Steven are 3 members of GearJunkie, which is an outdoor adventure company that live and breathe the adventure lifestyle.
People come from kind of 2 main paths, I think. Triathlete, road biker, aerobic, competitive Ironman crowd, and they want to kind of get into the wilderness. And then the other template is people that are ultra runners or mountain bikers and kind of into the wilderness sports already, but want to do something that's more multi-sport.
As for the origins of adventure racing, they're kind of hard to pin down exactly. However, there are a few races that most of the community point to as the origins of the sport. In 1968, there was a 2-day race called the Carramore International Mountain Marathon. In 1980, the Alpine Ironman was hosted in New Zealand, where contestants run, paddled, and skied to the finish line. Independently, in 1982, a race took place in North America called the Alaska Mountain Wilderness Classic. Something was missing before we could really call this an adventure race.
I'm Governor Mike Leavitt of Utah. We have been delighted to be the inaugural location for the first Eco Challenge in the United States.
The big cultural moment for adventure racing was in the 90s when this show called Eco Challenge came out. 3, 2, 1, go! It was a show produced by Mark Burnett. He made Survivor and The Apprentice. Eco Challenge was one of those. It was kind of his first big hit. And it was all about this adventure race and in exotic locations in Fiji and all around the world. So many people watched this show and they just got the bug.
And so in 1995, the first ever Eco Challenge was aired, which took place in Utah. This show was nuts. These poor people were just thrown in the deep end, paddling, biking, horseback racing, and not just that, climbing, abseiling. This race was insane. The people taking part of it were breaking down into tears. Not only that, people were breaking bones and being helicoptered out. All this drama, as you could imagine, was TV gold. And so Eco Challenge very quickly became a hit TV show. The race itself was 370 miles in distance. It was 10 days long and it had 50 teams made up of 250 people.
To get here, we walked 48 hours with 3 hours of sleep.
You can't plan on where you're going to eat or sleep. You just go until you can.
Eco Challenge ran for 7 years, with races all over the world, in Fiji, USA, New Zealand, Argentina, creating not only a very popular TV show, but more importantly, this insane subculture of adventure racers.
I felt like my head was gonna melt off.
So you might be there wondering what makes this different from like the Ironman events or ultra marathons. Well, firstly, it's the range of different disciplines. But what is distinctly unique to adventure racing is the necessity for navigation.
How are we feeling?
A little overwhelmed. We got a lot of terrain ahead here. 6 different maps and all sorts of clues, and it's kind of crazy. So trying to get everything organized right now. Just plotting all the checkpoints and getting the routes figured out.
Well, there's no signpost saying run this way. You're not given a GPS. You literally just have a map and a compass. And some poor bugger has to try and figure it out whilst they're hallucinating from the lack of sleep they've had.
Some of the top teams are world-class athletes plus world-class navigators and wilderness athletes. So when you can combine that, you win the world championship.
And so with adventure racing, you could no longer just switch off your mind and run in a straight line. You have to read the land that you're on, study the map, and be alert at all times.
Even the highly experienced Seagate team struggle to find the checkpoints in the dark, confined caves.
Now you might be there thinking that the most challenging part of these races are, oh, I don't know, maybe the miles and miles of endless running, but no.
What was the most challenging part of the race that you did today?
Mosquitoes.
This is the worst I've ever seen mosquitoes. You couldn't stop. You pause in the woods at all, and it was just swarms.
It's horrendous.
Both my arms.
Oh my word.
That's all through clothes.
We were just going insane. We'd stop and we'd be swarmed with thousands of mosquitoes. We had bug head nets and hats.
Oh, you're doing it. Netting up.
I did not want to do it this early in the race.
And we put on our rain jackets, put our hoods up. You were just getting attacked from every angle, and it made it really difficult to read the map and concentrate. I think honestly that was sort of what happened to my team on this race, was the double whammy of like sleep deprivation plus bugs, and we kind of fell apart.
I'm gonna show you the result of these bug bites. Oh my god, dude. I look like I've been punched in the face, man. Yeah, I didn't know no bell.
Back to the Eco Challenge TV show. So this show was very successful. It had birthed an entire community around this sport.
So one of the real early legends was a guy named Ian Adamson.
No, X Games, I have some X Games medals.
Yep.
Gold, silver, bronze, 7 world championships, and 3 age group world championships.
And he was kind of like the Tiger Woods of the sport. In the US, there's a guy named Mike Closure who captained Team Nike. This was maybe in the early 2000s when companies like Nike, Merrill, and some of the big brands would sponsor adventure racing teams. And the sport kind of was in the initial heyday at that point.
We've came here to chew bubblegum and to kick ass. And we are all out of bubblegum.
And then, in 2002, disaster struck. Eco Challenge was cancelled. This was a massive shock to the world of adventure racing. A world that was gaining incredible momentum and growing constantly. And honestly, it was kind of hard to find information on why it was cancelled. It seemed as though Mark Burnett had just moved away from the show. You know, if you look at Mark's IMDb, he has a pretty impressive career. He went on to do the show Survivor, The Apprentice, Shark Tank, and many more. And it seemed as though Eco Challenge had just come to the end of its run. You get it? Boom.
For the most part, my best friends in the world are adventure racers, and they're people that I consider my closest friends. I connect with them so much. So the sport creates just this strong bond between people. You're out there as a team, you function as a single unit. You're only as fast as the weakest link, and you want your team to be happy and healthy and good. It's all about that little tribe that you build.
Just before the end of Eco Challenge in 1998, the USARA was formed, and they hosted a race that was called, I'm gonna have to read it here, it's the United States Adventure Racing Association Adventure Race National Championship, which really rolls off the tongue. You had Canada's North Raid Extreme, the Adventure Racing World Series, and many others had started to form to fill the void of Eco Challenge. There was even an event called Primal Quest, which was very similar to Eco Challenge, same length, same format, and the race was broadcast on big TV networks. It had quite a bit of a buzz, but it just never hit the heights of Eco Challenge. And then we moved into the 2010s. You had the German Adventure Race Series, God Zone started in 2012, becoming a massive event in the sport, and also the Patagonia Expedition Race.
There are hundreds, if not thousands, of adventure races around the world every year that are grassroots, and then there's big series like the USARA here in America, which is a nationwide series, and the ARWS around the world.
But despite this, something was missing.
And then there was kind of this long middle period, probably between 2006 or 7 all the way up to almost 2020, where the sport kind of dipped.
However, in 2018, everything would change when a press release announced that Bear Grylls and Mark Burnett had teamed up to revive Eco Challenge.
Amazon Prime licensed Eco Challenge and relaunched it in 2019. They held the race. There's sort of this whole new fervor around the sport right now.
This was major news. After 2 years in the making, the show was released on Amazon Prime. It was incredibly well filmed, with none other than your boy Bear Grylls, just to give it that icing on the cake.
The sport was almost invented to display raw human drama. When you are out there for 3 days in a jungle thrashing with your teammates, you're stripped down to your bare soul, and your physical being is an animal. So you're sleeping under bushes and drinking out of streams, and you're just trying to survive. You get down to the core of who you are as a human, and some people break down and quit, and some people thrive.
And then Amazon decided to cancel season 2. Obviously, not great. not what people wanted, but it didn't really matter. Because in spite of this, the job had been done in reviving the mainstream attention on adventure racing. And the scene is truly thriving. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of events that happen every year. But there is one thing I just don't get. And that is that I just can't wrap my head around why people want to put themselves in such extreme turmoil.
Trying to strip adventure racing down to what the core of it is, and it's about leaning into what is the maximum performance you can put out as a human, both mental, physical, and emotional. Where do you kind of hit this breaking point? And do you hit this breaking point? You know, I've been out there for 9 days. You break down, but then you recover and your team helps you, picks you back up, and you eat and hydrate, and then the sun rises and you start a new day and you keep going. So it's like you're just being wrung out like a wet towel and you come back a different person. What's up?
Hello, hello.
To tell the tale. You win some, you lose some, and we did not win this one, so...
We fell apart in the middle of the night a little bit, but...
How many days do you tend to take to recover?
2 or 3, probably. Yeah, probably on like day 4 I'll go on a run, but the first 2 days I'm like having a hard time going up and down the stairs.
I think the future is drawing in top athletes who are ultra runners and Ironmen, world-class cyclists, and getting them interested to compete and kind of up the athleticism in this sport. I don't feel like it's as athletic as other sports because it's really just about hacking through the wilderness and finding the checkpoints.
The more top-level athletes we see coming into adventure racing, the more world records we'll see broken. And the more we'll find out what not only the human body, but the human mind is capable of achieving. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and watch this video right here.